Hi everyone, this is Soumya from So They Read. I have skipped uploading for a while. Life, motherhood, everything has kept me occupied for oh, quite some time now. So I am going to share my what I have read lately and what I'm hoping to read in the month of April in this video. So, since I couldn't do this back in March for February, I will be collating both those months together here for you. So, let's get started. Okay, so I have read 6 books in the last 2 months. So, 3 in Feb and 3 in March. So, I will start with my March list. The very first book that I read was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And I think I picked this book up at the right time because I had tried reading this back in February of 2022 when I think I wasn't in the right mind space to get through it, because classics are not something you can rush through. You have to give it time, patience, because I feel like from what the classics that I have read so far, and I haven't read many, but the ones that I've read so far, I've realized that there are multiple layers that you need to get through to fully understand what those authors were trying to convey. So I think this is also why many people keep rereading classics throughout lives, and I also believe the um age and the stage in life when you read them also matters. So yeah, okay, coming back to the book, I loved it, and what stood out to me most was how these characters, which were written and developed over 200 years ago, still resonate so much to us at this age and this day. And the fact that Jane Austen was just 20, like she had barely turned 20 when she started writing this book, is absolutely phenomenal. To have that level of understanding and maturity, to know how society functions, how people function, how there are nuances to people's characters and the way they behave, and to so eloquently and so courageously to put that into a book in those times is absolutely stunning. Okay, so the next book that I read in February was The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. And this book isn't a story in the traditional sense of the term story. It's more like reading somebody's journal, and these are journal entries of someone who has a very descriptive and mature writing style. And through this story, we meet 6-year-old Sophia and her grandmother, and it is basically a look into their summer spent on an island in the Gulf of Finland. Sophia has lost her mother, and her grandmother is the only female presence in her life. Her father is present, but he's like this background character, and he is loving. He's not absent, but he is going through grief himself of losing his wife, and grief is a theme that is there throughout this book, and it's very poignant. Like each of these 3 people are shown to be going through their journey of dealing with this grief, and it is very beautifully put. Her grandmother is portrayed as a very smart, empathetic woman, while at the same time she's a no-nonsense woman. And yet she is very gentle with the child. She allows her um, to have her mood swings, and doesn't reprimand the child very often. In fact, even indulges her imagination and takes her on these little adventures on the island. And the most important thing is that she, in spite of her age, tries to give this child who has just lost her mother her undivided attention, which is, I think, the biggest gift that you can give someone who has lost a parent. And though this book doesn't have a plot line or a storyline, it's not plot focused. It is basically just these slice of life vignettes that you get from someone's diary, and each chapter is like a little adventure that they have on the island. This book beautifully captured cross generational living for me, because on the one hand you have Sophia, who's like just starting out her life and she has so much to learn and experience, and on the other hand you have her grandmother who's learning to let go, while also trying to prepare Sophia as much as she can before she has to. The author's writing weaves all of these three themes throughout the story very beautifully. The themes of love, loss, resilience, belonging, and I think the most important one is of embracing and letting go. Okay, so the last book that I read in February was Project Hail Mary, and I am so glad that Swarda pushed me to read this, because it was my top read for Feb, and I absolutely loved the book. It has, obviously it is science fiction, and the science and the nerdy stuff is there, but then um, the humor, the friendship, that feeling of hope that this book brings about when you read it is absolutely something that I cherished. And I also then went and watched the movie the day it released here, and it was such an, I think this is like probably um, a very true adaptation of the book. I don't think any movie has done that for a book before. At least like from what I have read and watched, it was absolutely beautiful, and that chemistry between um, Rylan Grace and Rocky, which was so evident in the book, is beautifully translated on screen. Um, Obviously, there are a few um, key things that I feel they missed out in the movie. Like, they don't talk about the gene that makes it possible for him to travel for such long duration in space. I think that was a very major thing that they missed out. And another thing is, they don't focus a lot about the science in the movie. So it's not, I would say, it isn't like Interstellar in that terms, because there was a lot of focus on the science there. Here, they focus more on the plot than the science, but that is what makes the book amazing. Like, there is the plot, but then there is also the nerdy science stuff that gives you all this rich background as to what is happening, why it is happening, and that's what made the book for me. It was such a joy to read that book, and absolutely love the character of Rocky. He is amaze. So yeah, that was my wrap up for February, and I will now move on to March. So in the month of March, again I read 3 books, and the first one that I picked was a Claire Keegan novel called, sorry, it's not a novel actually, it's a collection of 3 short stories. It's called So Late in the Day, and this is my second book by this author. I absolutely love her writing. She is someone who writes Her writing style is not very elaborate. It's restrained, and but conveys everything that she wants to with a punch. Prose is not descriptive, or it's not shouting for attention or anything like that. It's quiet, and it has this devastating beauty about it. He manages to reel you in even in a short story, and that is absolutely stunning. So there are three stories in this book, and each of them have extremely heavy themes, and each of these stories have characters which you would not consider easy or simple characters. They are very nuanced. Without saying much, each of them conveys their story so beautifully that you get a holistic view of their situation without having um, the privilege of reading another's point of view from their life, which I think is done best in the first story. So the first story is about a man named Kathal who is recounting his broken engagement, and we are seeing this obviously through a man's point of view, but the author has described his situation so beautifully that you end up sympathizing with his fiancée who left him. And the character's narration itself will reveal all of his red flags. Um, like for him, everything in life, like marriage, kids, buying a home, all of these are things on his checklist that he needs to tick off. It is not something he views as something to be cherished in life. And the quiet misogyny, um, the patriarchal views that he was raised with, all of it is so evident in his own narration that we understand why Sabine, his ex-fiancé, left him. This story for me, it's like the perfect example of this widely used term nowadays called the male loneliness epidemic. So yes, I mean obviously many of us have grown up in homes where there were certain dated patriarchal views that were followed, or that is what we grew up with. But I feel it's our responsibility as informed adults to change that, to break those cycles. And this story beautifully captures like how certain men don't view those things that they grew up with as a problem at all. They assume that that was what was normal. They do not take any effort to try and understand, educate themselves about how that was not right and how they can improve themselves, break that cycle with their own family. She has done that so beautifully in the story, and it's a short story, and you get all of this in that one short story, and it is just amazing. Her writing is absolutely brilliant for this exact reason. It's so concise. She doesn't use very elaborate descriptive language, and in that concise manner she manages to like encapsulate all of these major heavy themes. It's just mind blowing. The other two stories are also really good. The third story is what like gave me literal goosebumps. So it is absolutely horrifying how that story pans out. But yeah, she talks about these heavy themes like gender dynamics and misogyny and this quiet violence, and she does it so beautifully, so beautifully. I would if there's somebody out there who hasn't ever read any of Claire Keegan's works, I would recommend highly that you start with this book, because they are short stories, so it's obviously not very long, and um, it is like the perfect entryway into her work, I feel. So the second book that I read in the month of March was Crying in Edgemart by Michelle Zauner. Um, I had seen this book all across social media, um, like literally everywhere on Instagram it was there. Um, I did not know it was a memoir. I realized it when I picked it up. And the reason I picked up this book is because my local library runs a book club, and this was their book for the month of March. Sadly, I fell sick and I couldn't attend the book club meeting. Um, I hope to change that next month. I am a very introverted, socially awkward person, so I have been trying my best to push myself out of my comfort zone and actually go attend those meetings in person. Obviously, we run our own virtual book club, but now, because I've done that over the past 3 years, I have that comfort level with those group of people, but I really need to step out of the house and push myself to go meet new people. So that was the intention of like starting this book. Hoping I could have attended the meeting, but I fell sick. Anyway, talking about the book. So apparently this author is a musician. Um, I have never heard any of her music. I did not know anything about this book going into it. So I went in completely blind, and this book has literally stabbed me in the heart. It is so sad. It is so heavy. Like, I had to keep putting the book down, not because I didn't enjoy it, because it was it is beautiful the way she has described her grief, but it is so heavy. You need to like distance yourself purposely so that you don't spiral and overwhelm yourself. So this book is basically, like I said, a memoir. It is about um, Michelle Zauner's mother, and her battle with cancer, and Michelle's role as her caregiver in her life. So obviously it starts off with um, this identity crisis that she's having of growing up as a half Korean person in the United States. So her father is American and her mother was Korean. So she has this typical second generation immigrant experience of struggling between two cultures, trying to fit in both places, but she can't in either of them. The mother daughter dynamic that has been explored in this book has been done very, I would say, beautifully, because it is not romanticized in any way, it is not sugar coated in any way, it is shown for what it is. There is this push and pull between them constantly. Michelle is trying her best to impress and gain her mother's approval in everything that she does. So, in the food that she eats, in the clothes that she wears, in the career that she chooses, everything she is like dying for approval from her. Obviously, there are portions where her mother, being raised in Southeast Asia, has the typical upbringing from that age and that region, where she focuses on things that we nowadays wouldn't consider relevant, and in spite of that, there's this invisible umbilical cord, like we say in motherhood, that connects her to her mother, and she is unwilling to sever that bond, even if it hurts her at times. The major theme throughout this book is how she finds solace in food, in Korean food specifically, because she is trying to recreate that sense of belonging that she felt with her mother, um, and she's trying her best to find go back to her roots, her Korean roots, and feel that sense of belonging so that she feels more closer to her mother. When you read this book, at times there are chapters where obviously the descriptions of food are evocative, and you would want to like drop the book and first go to a Korean restaurant and have the foods that she describes. But in certain chapters, this doesn't feel like you're reading a book. It feels like you're reading her very personal, very raw and vulnerable diary. And this book doesn't feel like something she wrote because she wanted to write a book. It's more like a it feels like it was a cathartic exercise for her to get out all those feelings onto paper, and probably her way of dealing with it other than food that she normally turns. This book is extremely heavy. I would not recommend you pick this when you are feeling down or you are going through if you are going through grief yourself. I feel this book does help you. I mean, it probably would help you verbalize grief if that is what you're going through, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book. But don't pick it up when you're already down. Maybe pick it up when you feel you're ready to talk about grief, or ready to process your own grief, and you're not maybe comfortable talking to anyone, but you want to read somebody's experience of how they went through grief. I think this book might help. So the last book that I read in the month of March was for our very own virtual book club called The Book of Everlasting Things by Aanchal Malhotra. So Aanchal is a historian. This book is huge, but it is so beautiful. You wouldn't feel like you're reading a 400 page novel because the writing is absolutely stunning. I don't think I've ever read an Indian author with this style of writing. You feel like you are one of the characters in the book experiencing what she's describing. Obviously, this book is dealing with themes of love, loss. It's a partition novel, so you wouldn't expect anything else, but the grief in this book is so intense, and there are certain events that happen in the book that take you by complete surprise. It is heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. If you are trying to get into more South Asian literature, I would highly recommend this book because it is a piece of beauty. It is absolutely stunning, and the writing will captivate you and keep you hooked. You won't want to put the book down. It is that good. So please pick it up. Please let me know in the comments if you have read it. Share your thoughts, share your views. So yes, these are the books that I have read in the last 2 months. Really good books. I hope April will also be good in terms of reading. I have already finished one of my April books. Yeah, I will just let you know my April hopefuls. Month of April, I plan to read 4 books, one of which I have already completed. The first book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, another classic, and I actually finished this book just last night, and oh my god, I loved it so much. But I will tell you more about it in our next wrap up. The next book on the list is Happening by Annie Ernaux. It's again a memoir, and it's part of our book club, virtual book club at So They Read. This is going to be our first non-fiction book, so if you are interested, please join us. We will have the sign up link in the description of this video, or you can DM us on Instagram. So basically it's this memoir of a woman who is trying to get an um, abortion in 1960s France, where it is illegal. It would be a very interesting novel to read. The next book on my list is another Claire Keegan book called Foster. I will be reading this book as part of our reading challenge, which we run on our Instagram page, and the prompt for which I am going to be reading this is called A Story That Explores the Meaning of Home. Super excited to read another book by this author. Obviously, you have heard me gush about her just a few minutes back, so I am in love with her writing style. Can't wait to see how this book makes me feel. Okay, I had to stop recording there for a minute because my camera was acting weird. Anyways, the last book on my April hopeful list is the book that my library is going to be reading for their book club this month. It's called Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I have absolutely no idea what this book is about, so I'm just going to read a little blurb from the internet. It says it is her debut novel about estranged siblings who, after their mother's death, discover a hidden family history through a voice recording and a traditional Caribbean black cake she left them. So the premise sounds really interesting. There is apparently also a movie or TV adaptation of the same. So yes, I am obviously excited to read, and more than that, I am excited and hopeful that I can get this introverted body out of the house and actually go attend the book club meeting in person. So yeah, I will let you know how it goes next month. But yes, those are the 4 books that I plan to read in April. Actually, there is another book that I would like to read this month, which has been on my TBR for over 2 years, which is remarkably 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 Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. There is also a Netflix adaptation coming out next month in May, so yeah, I want to read it before that comes out so then I can watch it. Yes, 5 books in April. Let's see how that goes. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know what you thought of them. It's on Instagram. We post there much more often than we do here. We are trying to increase our frequency of posting long form content. Swarda is able to do it much more than me. I am trying my best to be at least consistent with these monthly wrap-ups, but as you can see, that didn't happen in the month of March. So yes, I will still try to shoot whenever I can, when I get rare moments like this when I'm alone at home without a toddler running and screaming around me. So yes, I am just blabbering right now, so I'm going to stop. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Please comment. Please like the videos. Please follow us on Instagram. Thank you. See you all next month.